where Will Harris, I was crying laughing. Will Harris, who I don't want to go into the details, but was overserved on a few different levels. Made his way up on stage and just commandeered the show and like invented.
Was he a guest or he just got up there?
Well, we wanted to have him on because this is his first time in Utah, his first time at Nerdtacular, and so he's been on the show before. We wanted to have him a part of the show, but wow, was he gone? And I was just crying, laughing at his appearance, which ended in him improvise. He could barely put a sentence together, and then improvised a hilarious song off the top of his head with Mike TV, and it was just.
It shows that the singing part of your brain is different than
is totally different. The phrase as Will demanded more and more control of the show. Brian at some point just yelled, "Let the toddler drive," and lo he did.
When in doubt, sing.
Yeah, and he sang. He sang his heart
like
out.
a canary.
Now I have to watch this.
I'll send you a link.
I love Will Harris. In fact, I haven't seen Will Harris in many moons.
Will's doing great. I actually texted him to let him know that I was cracking up, and he was like, I'm gonna put "Let the toddler drive" on my Twitter bio.
Oh, I just got by the way, when I say this, you should know that I subscribe to multiple political newsletters in my Yahoo email from multiple different parties.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden sending out emails again.
Yeah, the rumor is Easter weekend.
Yeah. Because I haven't seen one from I've seen them from that list, but not with, hey, this is Joe, I'm writing you directly.
So
right?
this is the new way that you know that the Leviathan is waking in terms of your digital marketing is you start sending out little things because you don't want your big first pop to get caught up in the algorithms and sorted into spam.
Well, folks, I don't want to get caught up in your algorithms or sorted into spam either.
Yeah, damn you, Doritos.
The worst. And so, therefore...
Doritos, though, very good.
I could go for a Dorito.
Cooler Ranch all day.
You think Cool Ranch? Cool Ranch is your... you go blue over red?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would, too.
I lean that way, too.
And weirdly, I like to eat Cool Ranch chips at the beach.
That might just be.
I don't know why they go together, but they do.
All right, after show topic: Doritos and dip, as in any kind of dip, a guacamole or a salsa. Are you for it or against it? We'll talk about it in the after show.
Justin, I would like you to read line. I would like you to read line 3 today because the person we're acknowledging, whose name was chosen at random, has the most Supreme Court justice-like name of any we've read so far.
Seems apropos.
You know, both Supreme Court justice and Forgotten in Living Color cast member.
Yeah. All right. Ready? Gonna count you in. 3, 2.
David Allen Holmes has supported independent tech news directly for 5 years. Be like David. Become a DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, March 28th, 2019. In Los Angeles, I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
From the shores of Lake Merritt, I'm Justin Robert Young.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Roger was hanging out on the shores of Lake Merritt there for a second.
Yeah,
he was.
I wish. It's so nice.
I know.
We are going to discuss the report out of the UK on vulnerabilities in Huawei's networking gear. Always good to point out we're talking about Huawei's telecom networking gear. We're not talking about Huawei's phone. But let's start with a few tech things you should know.
Sony chairman Kazuo Hirai has announced his retirement after stepping down as CEO a little more than a year ago, at the time passing the torch on to Kenichiro Yoshida. Hirai will leave his chairman role on June 18th, but will continue to act as an occasional senior advisor for the company when Sony wants him to.
Twitter announced Thursday it's expanding its dark mode options for iOS users. Twitter is now gaining a lights out option as well as an automatic dark mode in addition to its blue dark gray mode. Twitter previously called its dark theme night mode. It's now dubbed dark mode with some new icons as well.
Twitter a la mode. Apple released watchOS 5.2, a free update that expands the availability of the electrocardiogram app to 19 European countries, as well as Hong Kong. The update also adds support for the second-generation AirPods, letting them be used with the Apple Watch, and supports real-time text, or RTT, for phone calls. Let's talk a little bit more about something that confuses me about Skype.
CNET reports Skype users are seeing notifications that Cortana will no longer be supported in Skype after April 30th. That leaves Amazon Voice Services, which Skype announced back in November as the sole option. Skype users have a link to their Amazon accounts to take advantage of that, and Twitter user Florian Boubois saw a offer for 200 free minutes on Skype for users who did connect their Amazon accounts.
So, I'm with you, Tom. What in the heck?
Yeah. I mean, my take on this for a long time has been Microsoft is saying, look, Cortana is good at a lot of things. We'll use it for those, but we'll also open the platform to anybody who wants to play in our sandbox. And Amazon has been willing to play in that sandbox in ways that Google has not. But taking Cortana out of Skype seems to be more retreating, saying, well, Cortana is not good at that, which I got to be fair. I didn't use Cortana in Skype. So maybe that is something where like, hey, nobody's using it. Might as well reverse it. And you do have to take action if you want to use Amazon Voice. You have to go and link your Skype account. It's not just going to show up. It's not built in, whereas Cortana was built in. So I don't know if this is more of a damnation of voice activation in Skype just isn't needed. And so for those who do, they'll take the action to link up Amazon and no need to complicate things and support Cortana, which is a new take for Skype. They've been trying to simplify after they made some wrong steps that the user base didn't really love. So maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
Two options for you. Number one, they did want to streamline the app, and having two voice assistants for whatever reason, programming wise, became complicated. Or maybe this is a behind the scenes deal with Microsoft and Amazon, that Amazon says, hey, look, we would like our voice services to be the only voice assistant in this, and maybe increase its footprint for their voice assistants to be able to ring people up on Skype.
You think it's pay to not play?
I think it might be. There's
I'll pay you for Cortana not to play there anymore.
Well, yeah, basically that it's, we've seen deals being done to keep certain search engines as defaults for browsers and stuff like that. This would be a similar version.
I'm going to call that low probability, but not no probability.
Spotify is testing a new subscription offering called Premium Duo for two people who live at the same address. Therein lies the rub. A single premium Spotify subscription costs €9.99 per subscriber, and a family plan for up to 6 people costs €14.99. The Premium Duo for 2 people splits that difference and costs €12.49. 49 cents. I don't know, whatever euro cents are. It also includes Duo Mix, an automatically generated playlist of music it thinks both members would enjoy. Premium Duo is being tested in Colombia, Chile, Denmark, Ireland, and Poland. And I, for one, as an Apple Music subscriber, am becoming to get a little bit jealous because Spotify has all these cool perks that are happening these days.
I agree with you. I'm not only am I an Apple Music subscriber, but I'm in a blended household with my wife being a Spotify user. And I don't know, there are times when we put on, music on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and I wouldn't mind having an algorithmically selected double playlist that knows what we both like.
Yeah.
I am a Google Play Music subscriber. My wife is a Spotify subscriber, and we meet with a family plan for Apple Music. So this could eliminate that, right? If I switch to be the family plan on Spotify, I am very curious what their algorithm would do to try to create a mix that would satisfy both of us. Because right now it's driver's choice in the car.
Yeah, it could be disastrous, but it could also be like, oh yeah, my wife does love this song. Here it is, even though I might not have put it on myself. So yeah, it definitely depends on how it rolls out, but it's gonna save you money. I think both of you might want to consider that as an option.
Well, certainly, and if I lived in Colombia, Chile, Denmark, Ireland, or Poland, I would get on this immediately. I am very excited to see it, because I'll say this: I like Apple Music. I liked it better when they got exclusives. It's been a little while since they had one of those exclusive albums that nobody else had for a week or so. Without that, I don't know how much better that product is compared to Spotify, because everyone I know that has Spotify seems to enjoy it.
I mean, honestly, and I pay more attention to streaming services maybe than the average person because I love them. They're the same. Yeah, there's some exclusives. Yeah, there's a little bit of a UI, differentiation based on what OS you're using and that, this and that. But for the most part, they have all the same music. So it really comes down to the extra perks, which is, I think, goes back to this Spotify story is, okay, well, when you're looking at two things that are more or less the same, you want to listen to your Ariana Grande album, but there's some other stuff going on there, then you end up going with a certain service.
Well, but that's also the thing, is that Spotify seems to be better at, I don't know what to listen to. What should I listen to? Boom. There's a million different ways to get you into it.
Sarah's saying, break up with your streaming service because you're bored. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development filed charges against Facebook for housing discrimination in its ad targeting system. HUD Secretary Ben Carson said in a statement, using a computer to limit a person's housing choices can be just as discriminatory as slamming a door in someone's face. In 2016, ProPublica reported that an ethnic affinities tool could be used by advertisers on Facebook to exclude Black or Hispanic users, among others, from seeing specific ads, which could violate federal law if it affected housing or employment information. Now, The Verge notes that the HUD complaint seems to take issue not just with that filtering, which Facebook has changed so that you can't do that anymore, but with ad optimization itself. HUD wrote in the complaint, even if an advertiser tries to target an audience that broadly spans protected class groups, Facebook's ad delivery system will not show the ad to a diverse audience if the system considers users with particular characteristics most likely to engage with the ad. So they're describing the algorithm that says, okay, we've got your preferences, advertiser. Now we're going to use our algorithm to figure out who to show this ad to. And HUD is saying that is discriminatory, not just what the advertiser selected, but the way you're deciding to deliver the ads. Facebook told The Verge that it had been cooperating with HUD and trying to solve this, but said HUD insisted on access to sensitive information like user data without adequate safeguards. A little pot calling the kettle black there. HUD General Counsel Paul Compton told The Verge, just because a process to deliver advertising is opaque and complex doesn't mean that it exempts Facebook and others from our scrutiny and the law of the land.
This is a very interesting story. And I am personally tickled pink by the fact that Ben Carson is involved in it, because I find him to be a very interesting and funny guy.
He's a doctor, right? Dentist, is that right?
He's a doctor,
Doctor.
Okay. There's a movie that was made about his life starring Cuba Gooding Jr. Watch it. All right. This is a very, very interesting story in that there is a larger question about how biased an algorithm can be. And ultimately, what HUD is taking exception with is that it doesn't matter whether or not you are taking away these certain things that absolutely would discriminate. You are, by the process of selectively showing this to some people, discriminating. And I almost wonder whether or not either A, the HUD needs to take a look at their anti-discrimination laws and say, okay, well, we need to figure out a way to play in this ecosystem, or whether or not these kinds of advertisements will ever be able to be on a selective platform like Facebook.
The really interesting thing about this to me is we're talking about housing ads, right? We're not talking about all ads. We're saying, look, there are laws in the United States that say you can't advertise your house for sale only to certain ethnicities, or only to certain classes of people, or only to certain zip codes. And the rest of the time when you're advertising, it may be distasteful to say, hey, I only want to advertise this to a certain ethnicity. Or it may be that, like, I don't want to spend money advertising this to an ethnicity that's not going to be interested in it. Right. So there's shades of gray with other advertising. And Facebook has taken the position of like, you know what, we're just going to eliminate a lot of these things, even if they're useful in some cases, because they're too often controversial. So they got rid of a lot of the ethnic targeting altogether. But in housing, they're still doing just normal ad optimization, which is like one of the cool things on the internet is we can figure out how to make your ad have the best punch. So only the people that are most likely to respond to it. And the law is saying, no, you shouldn't do that, because the most likely people to respond to a housing ad might not be the wide number of people that we need to see it. And there might be just that built-in unconscious bias into the algorithm. So you shouldn't do that. I think that's an interesting argument.
Plays into our conversation from yesterday too about how much should AI resemble a human mind and how much should the human mind be written right out of it. And I think in this case, it's a very gray area, because sure, if you look at data on a piece of paper, you kind of go like, oh, okay, I see where this might have gone. But we as humans say, but that's not appropriate.
Yeah. These are also about the laws as well. And I almost wonder whether or not there is a further conversation to be had about the HUD laws.
Well, no, we're actually having that's a really good point. Our conversation is saying this is the law. How do these algorithms pertain to it, given that that's the law?
Yeah. eBay is trying out a feature that uses computer vision to show similar items for sale. The example in their video is a green pair of sneakers. A prompt called "looks like this" will let you find other items that the AI deems similar. Could be the same item under varying names or show in different shades. The feature is available for Android and iOS eBay apps in Australia, Germany, the UK, and US.
Took me a while to wrap my head around this one, because it's not just saying, hey, you like green sneakers. Would you like to see other green sneakers? Because that already exists on eBay. In that same drop-down menu, there'll be a thing that says green sneakers, and you can click on that. This is saying, hey, would you like to see things that look like this? They may not be called green sneakers. And I'm not sure sneakers is their best example, but the idea is like, I want, things with yellow ducks in them, maybe. And so show me more things with yellow ducks, and it'll show you more of those. Because in their example, there's like, oh, maybe you want green sneakers, but they're not dark green like that one. They're lighter green or whatever, but they have the same style. It's a slightly different take on it. I can't tell if it's useful for me or not.
Yeah, me either. We were talking about this before the show, and I was like, well, I mean, Amazon does a lot of this, and eBay, as you mentioned, Tom, does as well. But okay, if I really wanted to complete an outfit, and again, we're still using clothing as an example here, but I wanted, I don't know, gold shoes, which is something I always want. If I saw a photo of gold shoes and eBay gave me like 10 other photos that were kind of similar, or images rather, that were kind of similar, that could come in handy. I'm not sure how much it's going to come in handy for anything that's not about color coordination, but maybe I just haven't thought about this through.
No, I mean, I would say for collectors and stuff like that, if there's a specific thing that you want, you're trying to find, then finding different versions of it, cheaper versions, specifically in eBay, where there are a lot of people that, I mean, theoretically, many of the items are listed and then go away, sometimes permanently. So I think that there is a use for it. Ultimately, if people can find it and use it and they get worth out of it, then it is better for eBay. It costs eBay just the time and effort to develop these tools. And then whether or not the users use them, that's a different story. But they want to provide as many relevant tools as possible.
Yeah, our friend Patrick Norton bought a DeKalb corn cob trophy off eBay many, many years ago. And I tried to look for one just out of curiosity one day, and trying to describe it was really difficult. If I had a picture of it.
Yeah.
But there's a little chicken and egg there, because I would have had to find it to have the picture of it. But anyway, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, if you're the person who says, yes, this is the feature I've been waiting for on eBay, please email us feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
All right. If this were April 1st, you might be forgiven for dismissing this next story, which is apparently a very real product and not a joke. The Fire Vase. It's a flower vase that you can throw toward a fire like a grenade. in order to put that fire out. The fire vase was produced by a Samsung subsidiary called Chang Worldwide as a marketing effort. Chang is actually quite a large company. But the vase actually works using an outer chamber that's filled with potassium carbonate that cools and suppresses oxygen when the vase is smashed. And then a smaller inner chamber then holds the water for your flowers because it's a vase, before you smash it anyway. 100,000 fire vases were originally produced as part of a publicity campaign to promote the use of home fire extinguishers in South Korea. And apparently they've gotten popular enough that they're doing another round. Another 200,000 are on the way.
Audio listeners, please excuse my giggle. There is an amazing GIF along with this story that just has a man appropriate for opening day baseball season, just giving a right down the middle, just a two-seam fastball with this with this vase into a roaring fire that puts it out immediately.
Right. Yeah. Conveniently, when there's a roaring fire in the middle of your living room, now when you have this vase, you can save your family.
Sarah and I went down a rabbit hole earlier when she discovered this story about Chang Worldwide, because the Verge story calls this Samsung. Chang is owned by Samsung, but Chang Worldwide is a marketing company. So this was meant to raise awareness about the importance and legal requirement to have a fire extinguisher in your house in Korea. Chang Worldwide did the opening and closing ceremonies of the 2018 Olympics. They do a lot of Samsung's events and announcements. They do a lot of marketing for a lot of other companies, and they also were engaged to do a marketing campaign to raise awareness around fire extinguishers. This is pretty brilliant. I got to say, I want one of these.
So do I. And that, my friends, is a Reich for fire.
It's funny. We all agreed, except Roger, who was like, I just have regular fire extinguishers in my home. And I was like, yeah, there's that too.
The best fire extinguisher is the closest one to you. And if you are able to throw one at a fire, it's not going to hurt.
Yeah.
My fire extinguisher, I have to press. I can't just toss it like a vase at a fire.
I mean, just picking up a flower, a vase and just smashing it against the wall.
It just looks so satisfying.
It does.
I mean, you break it off like a curve.
Yeah. There's an anxiety thing going on here.
Yeah. Folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com.
You're out of danger.
Tell you who's not out of danger of criticism is Huawei's networking equipment. Since 2010, an organization that acts independently of Huawei called the Huawei Cybersecurity Evaluation Center examines hardware and software deployed in UK telecoms provided by Huawei for vulnerabilities to sign off on it. And it generally does sign off on it and say, yeah, this is acceptable for use in the UK. In 2014, a board chaired by the National Cybersecurity Center in the UK, headed by Karen Martin, began overseeing the work. The board is made up of UK governmental representatives, Huawei company representatives, telecom representatives, and it's a way to say, okay, we're going to take the work that the HCSEC does and interpret it and provide an annual report. Now, last year's report raised some concerns over vulnerabilities, saying, we found some holes, we found some things that ought to be patched, but did not find evidence of any state-sponsored espionage. Okay, we talked about that last year on the show and said, this is a good thing. They're finding bugs. Now Huawei can go fix them. This year's report found, and I quote, serious and systematic defects and slams Huawei for not doing enough to fix the vulnerabilities. In fact, a lot of times they found the same vulnerabilities they found last year. The report says that all the issues found relate to basic engineering competence and cybersecurity hygiene. And the NCSC, that's the National Cybersecurity Center, the oversight board, does not believe that the defects identified are a result of Chinese state interference. However, no material progress has been made by Huawei in the remediation of the issues reported last year. So to sum up, they're saying, we found a bunch of bugs. A bunch of them seem to be the same ones from last year that you don't seem to have made any progress fixing, but we're still not finding any evidence of any kind of state interference. However, the report does note that even with these bugs, there are architectural controls that networks can put in place that limit exploitation of network elements not explicitly exposed to the internet, and that those controls, along with good OPSEC or operational security, are critical to managing residual risks. So they're stopping short of saying these are so bad you shouldn't use them. They're saying you should know that there's some vulnerabilities in here. They can be managed. Which, if you don't work in technology, that may sound crazy to you, but that's pretty much every device in technology has some vulnerability that you have to manage. Okay. The report says it will be difficult to appropriately risk manage future products in the context of UK deployments until Huawei's software engineering and cybersecurity processes are remediated. Essentially, they're saying, look, they didn't make any progress this year, so we're not going to promise that this isn't going to get worse, because there's no evidence that they're going to do anything to fix what's here, and more vulnerabilities are likely to crop up. Huawei promised to spend $2 billion fixing the bugs last year. The oversight board currently had not seen anything to give it confidence in Huawei's ability to bring about change via that transformation program. And the board said it would need sustained evidence of better software engineering and cybersecurity quality to change that assessment. So this report says, you're going to have to really show us something other than saying, yeah, we're still going to spend that $2 billion if we're going to change our assessment next year. Huawei, of course, once again promised to invest that money to improve its capabilities and says it takes the concerns in this report very seriously. Huawei even tried to say, hey, you know what? We're under closer security than any other telecom vendor out there. So that's good news. It means we're finding more stuff that can be fixed. Except this report says that they haven't been fixing it. So there we are, Justin. I mean, my summary of this was you get what you pay for. Huawei's equipment is cheaper, but it's also full of bugs, and it doesn't seem like Huawei wants to fix it. And so if you're considering using Huawei in your telecom infrastructure, that's the first thing you should consider is the quality of the software engineering and the hardware engineering.
Absolutely. Now, there's also the subtext here that Huawei has specifically come under fire in the United States as a possible backdoor for the People's Army of China and Australia. That hangs over kind of every Huawei story. The stakes here being that as we continue to move toward a more 5G for everything internet connected world, that this would be something that could be a major coup for China if, let's say, theoretically, that there was some kind of vulnerability or backdoor. There is no evidence to say that that is the case here, but any Huawei story has that hanging, around it, and it's part of the reason why we talk about it. That being said, I think that you hit the nail on the head. Maybe the argument shouldn't be, hey, Huawei is going to hand over literally every bit of data that we transmit to each other to the Chinese, but rather we shouldn't use Huawei because it's bad.
And to be fair, the report doesn't say it shouldn't be used.
No.
But it doesn't glow. It doesn't recommend this equipment as like, yeah, no, this is great. This is great stuff. Good bargains out there. And also we're not getting the same level of scrutiny, Huawei's right, on Cisco equipment or Nokia equipment or Ericsson equipment, whatever other brands of equipment are under consideration out there. But that said, you do take the information that you have into consideration here. And yes, 5G infrastructure is the infrastructure currently being built out. And so a lot of decisions made about infrastructure are being made now that will stick around for a few years. So folks want to make these considerations carefully. I look at this and I'm like, yeah, you can implement this safely. I'm sure it's not great, but I would think twice about it simply on the idea of I get what I pay for. Maybe I want to go with some other networking equipment because I just don't see that the exploits are going to be as hard to defend against.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like what happened, like 5 years from now, are we going to be looking back onto these stories and saying, they told us, they said it would happen, we should have gone with a different company. I don't know the answer to that, but I mean, I think that's the worry, right? If it's banned, it's banned. If it's not, but there are strong warnings against, a bunch of hardware and software stuff that lots of people are using, then, it's sort of like, okay, well, what's the worst result that can happen down the road?
Well, because that's the other thing is that you're not using it because you choose it as an end user, right? You're using it because that's what the infrastructure is built out on.
Yeah, I think that's over exaggerated. Well, you're not really using it either. It's being used on the network level. You're more likely to be affected by a switch going bad or malware being put on your actual device than being affected by this.
But, sure. Yeah.
But you have an interest in it for sure.
Yeah. And it's not something that you get to choose, I guess, is my only.
Yeah.
Well,
that's always
something that people do get to choose is whether or not they want to be part of our subreddit. And the people who do have the most fun, you can submit stories and vote on others at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We're also on Facebook. Join our group there as well, facebook.com/group/dailytechnewsshow.
All right, let's take a look at the mailbag.
Let's do it. Sherry passed along some news plus archive advice because we were talking about what is the deal with archived magazines and do they not exist or do they? Sherry says, just listen to episode 3497 and towards the end of the show, you were talking about old magazine versions in News Plus. They were only available on day one. They were, but it took me a while to find them. If you search for the magazine you're interested in, it'll appear on the left sidebar. Then you select the magazine. Then on the right side, the issues will run along the top. You have to do a lot of search versus in the News Plus area, which only contains the recent issues. In conclusion, Sherry says, as a UX designer, I think Apple should reconsider how they created this interface. And Tom, we went through this before the show because we wanted to make sure that we understood what Sherry was saying. And it sounds like this is the iPad app, not the iOS app.
Yeah, what Sherry's describing where you have a sidebar is the iPad version of the News app from Apple. If you go into the
iPhone app.
No, she's describing the iPad version of News Plus.
Right.
If you go into the iPhone version of News Plus, there is no search bar on the News Plus screen because there's no sidebar. You have to go into the following tab, which isn't clearly part of News Plus.
No.
But that's where your search tab is. Then if I search Wired Magazine and I tap on Wired, I will get recent issues and they will go back. Looks like they go back all the way to March of last year. So they give me a whole year's worth of archives. So there you go. You do have the archives in there. It's just not immediately obvious how to find them, but you can find them. And that's why I liked Sherry's last line of her email the best. I think Apple should reconsider how they created this interface because there's no obvious way to search from the News Plus tab. And the other two tabs are not News Plus. They are the things you get even if you don't subscribe to News Plus.
Yeah. And how is it not a universal app? That's hard to understand.
Well, it is a universal app. It's just
but it's not. But it doesn't.
Universal apps will show different navigation of the screen size. That's why they're universal apps. It's the same app adapting its interface to the screen size. That's not so much of the problem. The problem is that the iOS version of the app just doesn't make it clear how to do that at all.
Okay. Well, I will then say the universal app that is not universal when you look at it is problematic.
That does not have easily to understand universal features that are in similar places.
Right. Somebody who has very universal features, Justin Robert Young, thank you for being with us. You're nothing if not consistent. Let folks know where they can keep up with all your work.
Well, you can go ahead and get my free political newsletter at freepoliticalnewsletter.com. 5 days a week, 5 stories a day, mostly gifts, sometimes hot takes.
Check it out, folks, freepoliticalnewsletter.com, and join our Patreon. We are just a couple of days from the end of the month, and we need round dozen folks to join up in order to have one more subscriber member at Patreon than last month. We always lose a few towards the end of the month because people are looking at their bills, and the majority of the people who are leaving are saying in their exit surveys it's a financial thing. So if you can make it up for them and you want to get Roger's column that comes out on Thursdays, my editor's desk that'll come out Saturday morning, I'm going to be talking about how I correct for my own biases a little bit. All of that is available to members at patreon.com/DTNS. So help us get us over the line to one more patron than last month at patreon.com/DTNS.
If you've got burning feedback for us, our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. If you'd like to join the show live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC is where to put it on your calendar, and find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Rob DeMillo and Len Peralta will be illustrating. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Time and Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
If burning feedback lasts more than 3 days.
Nah.
You should see a doctor. You should see a doctor.
See a doctor, but still write us and let us know how you're doing.
Follow up.
Try some cranberry juice. That's what my doctor told me.
Cranberry juice. It solves a lot. Oregano oil. Try that too.
All right.
I actually take oregano oil supplements.
Do you really? Mm.
Yeah,
What is it
they're supposed to be
supposed to
good for
do?
your immune system.
Mm. Okay.
I figure I'm like, doesn't hurt. I like a good immune system. Might as well.
It smells like pizza. So
Kinda.
It smells exactly. It's shaped like pizza with the cheese and the.
Unfortunately, the pills are not really shaped that way.
Ah,
but they give you that oregano feel,
Mm.
you know, if you kind of have them and then have
the
some
original oregano.
carbonated water and, you know, how that all goes. You're like, what's that? Oh, yeah, my oregano pills.
So we got some suggestions at showbot.chatroom.net amongst the folks watching us live, listening to us live. Zoe Brings Bacon suggests green sneakers and yellow ducks.
I will not have green sneakers and yellow ducks.
That's one of my favorite country songs from the 60s. I think.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I
Charlie
would have
Pride did
leaned.
that one, right?
Yeah, I would have leaned more toward
Dr. Seuss.
something. No, more psychedelic. Like it might have been like a
Beatles song.
13th floor elevators.
yeah, or maybe something like who is the the only thing I know about her is that how she died, which is bad.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Karen Carpenter.
Oh, that's not
yeah.
who I thought you were talking about.
Oh, yeah. Green sneakers and yellow.
I don't feel like the Carpenters were doing a lot of psychedelic music.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Maybe go away from that and more just like a dreamy, breezy something.
Yeah.
She was very.
Right,
They were
yeah.
very folky.
Yeah, folky. Something folky. Like
Okay, so you're that when I said country, I was thinking that sort of breezy, folky country
Yeah,
kinda, vibe. So you're getting that too. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Would we say James Taylor is breezy country folky? Because
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, for sure.
With a,
All right,
with a
all right.
touch of
So
wine.
that's
In
kind
fact,
of
Green Sneakers and Yellow Ducks is my favorite James Taylor song.
See, James Taylor is he's okay.
No, but he would be like green boots and yellow falcons or something. Like there is.
Yeah,
he
it
was,
would be a little more soaring
he
imagery.
was
You're right.
slightly
Yeah.
more rugged.
A little,
Uh-huh.
little that
Sneakers and
northeastern kind of
Yeah.
rugged.
It would probably be
Maine vibe.
galoshes and a phoenix to
Mhm,
go with his
mhm.
fire
Yeah.
and rain.
Well, yeah, and a sunset
Motifs.
or something.
Right. We also have Save Your Family with a Baseball Throw. Twitter a la dark mode. You're out of danger.
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
Number.
I mean, I like the baseball ones, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure that they translate.
No.
Looking out the back door. It's pretty clever.
Oh, that's
good.
very CCR.
Yeah.
Oh, love
what
that
you pay
song by
for.
CCR.
Pay to not play. Is it vase or vase?
Who
Put
says
some heat on that
vase?
vase.
Come on.
Yeah, I actually like looking out the back door. That's pretty good.
That's a good one.
Do,
Yeah.
do, looking out my back door. That's before
Just got a
breakup.
report from
Looking out the back door, I feel like is
HSBA.
like a lot of songs. What's the one I'm thinking of?
I'm just thinking of
Looking out
CCR when I hear that song. When I hear that, looking out my back
Looking
door.
out my back door.
Yeah, that one.
Do, do, do,
That's
do,
the one.
do, 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 do. It was always one of
I'm
those
thinking of like an
compilations.
Eric B. and Rakim song.
I always think it's funny that when we actually settle on a title, it shoots up to #1 on Showbot.
Yeah.
people
I
just-
know.
they wanna-
You
they
almost
get on a
can't.
bandwagon.
Right.
So
Mhm.
looking out my back. No, looking out.
Yeah,
the
looking out
back
the
door.
back door. Yeah, I put it.
Wait. No love for Huawei has 5G on it.
That's funny. Again, mostly lost.
Huawei got
lost.
5G on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't say no love.
No, it's fine. Fine.
Oh, it
assumed
wasn't-
Most people wouldn't get it. so.
Anytime that we can just mention loonies is something that I'm very happy about.
Fred in the chat room, loonies all day.
Okay, this song called "Looking at the Front Door" was not Eric B. and Rakim. It was an artist called Main Source.
Nice.
Don't
Ooh.
remember him. The main source was a Canadian-American hip-hop group that was based in New York City and Toronto, composed of Toronto's Sir Scratch and K-Cut, and Queen's Large Professor. Later, Mikey D, also from Queens, replaced Large. I know the song. I just had no idea who sang it. All right.
Now we
Case
know.
closed.
All right. So we can continue to talk about Huawei and its security, Justin, or we could get back to your earlier controversy about dips.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Doritos.
Yeah,
Let's
real quick. All right. So Doritos, oftentimes, and I would think exclusively thought of as a chip for which you eat by itself.
Right.
It does not normally
flavor
have a
is
reputation.
Added to it.
Right.
Yeah, there is
Cool
already.
Ranch, for example, no need to dip into ranch.
You
It's
don't-
in the chip.
It's on the chip. And yet I have seen Doritos has pushed at times it
Mhm.
as a more traditional dipping chip, as a tortilla chip. And it's often got me thinking, because it is essentially a tortilla chip with flavoring on it, even if you went with a less flavorful dip, would you not enjoy the textural sensory experience of dipping Doritos in something, maybe even in a bean dip of some sort?
I will
Mm.
say I
Yeah.
have always dipped my Doritos in something.
Always.
Really? Always.
Oh, wow.
Well, unless
Okay.
it's at a party and they don't have what I want to dip. So I learned at a very early age, and when I say early age, I mean junior high, very popular to eat Doritos and barbecue corn chips, like the Frito-Lay barbecue corn chips with cream cheese. So you at the school cafeteria, you'd get like a little packet of cream cheese. You would buy a bag of Doritos and you eat it during your break.
With cream
Ew.
cheese.
Oh, it's amazing!
No,
It's amazing.
Absolutely not.
Mm.
I
You
am
are-
so excited that we brought this up. This is a
is-
culinary moment that I was not expecting.
No.
Whipped cream cheese.
Cream cheese has a place in this world, and that is
Okay.
not it.
Well, let's and I know this isn't necessarily what Roger was suggesting, but let's think whipped cream cheese, which is easier to dip, right? Because my first thought is the brick of cream cheese, like the old fashioned Philadelphia cream cheese.
Yeah.
That's just hard. You can't dip in that. But
no.
they have the whipped tub where it's like nice and soft, and it's certainly dippable. Still no, Sarah.
That's a no. It's an
It's
emphatic
a taste thing for you, not a mechanics thing.
no. It's well, even the softest whipped cream cheese is not dip, and I reject it.
I
based
mean,
on-
it would be a whipped cream cheese would be lighter than a
Than a bean dip.
Bean dip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't dip a Dorito in a bean dip ever. I'd rather die.
No,
Wow.
but you might dip another chip. You might dip a tortilla chip.
Would
in
you
bean
do
dip.
Talking about
nacho sauce?
Doritos.
Would you do nacho sauce?
Do you expect me to
With
bid?
Cool Ranch chips? Cool Ranch chips can't be dipped into anything except maybe guacamole. Maybe.
You have lived your life as a monk. You have denied your tongue so many glories.
I have less to repent for as a result. So.
Do you
Who
expect
wins
me
now?
to dip this Dorito in bean dip? No,
this
Ms. Lane, I
show-
expect you to die.
This show has brought me two of the funniest moments ever on any version of the Tom Daly Tech franchise. The gif of the man just rifling that vase against like the cinematically burning wall.
Right.
Very specifically, just in the corner, too.
Just right in the corner, but he gets all of it. It was like that just Randy Johnson in his prime, just like right there in the zone. And then Roger screaming at Sarah, "You have lived your life as a monk."
Yeah. Yeah, because anybody who would compare Roger and me would say I'm the monk.
Yeah.
Sure. No, it's
Which is
quite
what
obvious,
makes it
right.
so ironic. I would say that.
Yeah, why do you think he's getting so crazy about it? It's like, finally, I got her on something.
You lived your life as a monk. I knew it. I just had to find the right.
Cheese
no,
crimes.
I don't know, guys. Spinach dip. I think all chips deserve to be in spinach dip.
So
Whether you're
spinach dip.
potato or tortilla.
Can we agree? We can meet at the spinach dip. And
Yeah.
we'll all-
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's-
Well, I'm trying to think. Is there anything is there anything else? Would you go with a very like a liquidy pico de gallo maybe?
Cool Ranch chips? No.
Or regular Doritos or regular
Right,
Doritos.
and regular Doritos are not the nacho cheese Doritos. I forget this sometimes.
They're
It's actually hard to find regular Doritos anymore.
Well, because
They're
those
just
basically are. I mean, like I am talking about nacho cheese Doritos. I'm
okay.
talking about
I just wanted to clear that up
red Doritos.
because I will dip the regular Doritos that just have the taco seasoning in them in a lot more things than I might dip a Cool Ranch or a nacho.
Chips. They need the help. They need some love.
They need that. Yeah. I mean, well, I guess what is it? Is it the fact that they're more aggressively seasoned than your average, like even a Lay's or a barbecue chip or something like that?
I mean, barbecue chip is a whole nother ballgame.
Barbecue chip.
Put a barbecue chip in lots of things that other chips go into.
Well, so what's the difference between a nacho cheese Dorito and a barbecue chip being dipped?
What isn't the difference between the two of them?
Well, okay, potato and corn, but you're dipping something heavily seasoned into something else.
Seasoned differently, though. You can't put barbecue chips into salsa. That's
Yeah, you can. I do it all the time.
You can physically, but you're going to be judged.
I mean, yeah, if you want to defy God, sure.
And all his great works.
Yeah. So all right, so then what do you dip a barbecue chip in? Like what is the go-to Sarah Lane? Oh, barbecue chips. Well, let me see if I can dip it in what?
Spinach dip.
Spinach dip.
Oh yeah, we're back to spinach.
Wow.
And
You'll dip anything in spinach.
Dip, never gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
Where are you at on maybe a little French onion?
Can do. Can do. Yeah, I feel like they're the same family. The cream cheese, I never want to hear about that again.
If we ever circle back to our cookbook, one of my recipes is a dip made with cream cheese, and you will love it, but your heart will hate it.
Oh, by the way, I actually contacted JF Dubois, the author who is going to help us do the layout. We got distracted by NaNoWriMo and holidays and stuff, but we're opening those conversations about the cookbook again. So all you folks who submitted recipes, it's not for nothing. We do intend to bring Gloria Young's recipes that Justin submitted, Shannon's recipes, Roger's recipes, Sarah, myself, everybody's recipes. We're still working on it, so it's still out there. It's still going to happen.
The cream cheese dip.
I'm supporting Gloria for 2020 at this point.
And I say this as somebody who really likes cream cheese on a bagel. Yeah. I mean, cream cheese is a good thing. I just don't feel that tortilla chips are a place for cream cheese too.
Have you tried it?
No, he's saying Doritos specifically.
I don't care. Any chip that's triangular shaped. No.
You know that there's like the really soft whipped tubs of cream cheese now that are basically just light dip.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I know I keep bringing this up over and over again, but to me, it's like that's just
I'm being difficult sort of on purpose, but I feel very strongly about this.
There's a reason why I brought this up, because I think it is a very divisive thing, because you're right, Tom. There is not much difference between the aggressive seasoning of a barbecue chip and the aggressive seasoning of a Cool Ranch dip. And yet I'm with Sarah. I have a mental block that one is to be enjoyed solely by itself, and the other is something that very often will be next to a French onion dip that I would have a good time dipping it in.
I do too. I'm not going to deny it. Like Cool Ranch Doritos, they've already been pre-dipped. It's in the name.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't have a problem. Like, oh, well, there's no, like, let's break the rules. Let's break out of our cages.
Yeah.
Let's throw off these chains of convention.
Roger, what would you dip a Cheeto in?
Cheeto. What would I dip it in? Cheesy.
While Roger thinks about that,
I would say, I would borderline it on hummus.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
We're going to leave you with that thought, video viewers. Thank you for joining us. Audio folks, stick around while we find out why.